Today's video, I want to talk to you guys about scents and odors and fly tying and how to remove them. So we all have tied flies and used head cements and super glues and, been around different chemical smells. And after a while, they get kind of obnoxious and they kind of, I can't imagine they're real healthy for you either. So I'm going to show you guys today how I kind of have learned to get rid of them. Now, I tie a lot of flies, and I tie a dozen at a time, and I put them in these little cups with a little plastic lid. So I'll sit at my bench and I'll tie several hundred flies at one setting, and I'll put a dozen at a time in there and put a lid on them. Well, if I'm using head cement or super glue on that specific pattern, that little tub reeks of it, and it's kind of hard to get rid of that smell. Now, you can let them air out for a while, and they'll do that, but when you're going through them pretty fast, you need to come up with a better solution. And I don't believe in adding air freshener or stuff like that, because you're just adding more chemicals. And I don't think that head cement affects the fish anyhow. I mean, our stalker fish here that fish, I catch them just fine with stuff I tied the same morning. But on that note, I tie a lot of, in Oklahoma, we use a lot of trash flies, like the egg patterns, your worm patterns, different squirmy patterns, stuff like that. And I want to give the people who are buying my flies a better product. I don't want it to fall apart. So I always put super glue down first, and then I put a thread wrap base on them types of flies. Then I tie my fly, and I'm pretty liberal with head cement. I want to give every precaution there is to make a more durable fly for people who are buying them. Well, you do that, and before long, your little tub reeks of head cement, because I'll tie a dozen at a time like this, and I'll just sit them there, and then you put a lid on them, and that smell is locked in. So I've sitting here the other day, and my fly room was getting pretty smelly because I was in here all day and just one after the other, so that smell of head cement super glue had gotten kind of strong. And it hit me like a ton of bricks. It's like I have a solution for this, and I didn't even think about it. Back in the day, I poured concrete after work. I was in law enforcement, and on the side I poured concrete and did a lot of decorative concrete work, and a lot of that decorative concrete work is inside of people's residences, and you're using some of the most toxic chemicals in the world, and they linger. They'll get in their furniture, they'll get in their air conditioner vents, and just it's horrible. And a big contractor told me, he's like, man, there's a way to get rid of that. Buy yourself an ozone machine. And I was like, man, I don't even know what that is, whatever. And he's like, here, you need to use this. So he gave me this ozone machine to use, and I plugged it in, and poof, the chemicals were gone the next morning, and it was like, wow, that's amazing. So I ended up going in, I went and bought myself this little deal here, and I'm not even sure, I bought it on Amazon or eBay something, and it's called this one's called Ozone Power. But they make several different versions. I've even seen where hunters use these things now. So what it does is you plug this thing in, and somehow or another it blows the air in the room through it. And as it does it manipulates the molecules of the air and somehow changes things up, and it makes chemical smells go away. So I used that on the job sites, and it would get rid of the whole room smell, and it worked out really well. So I wanted to push it to the test, and I have an old pickup that I've restored that was my father's, who was a chain smoker. And that thing, it reeked of Marlboro so bad it was horrible. So I plugged this thing into an extension cord in the cab and just left it in there, and I'll be danged if the smell wasn't gone. So a few days ago, I'm playing around in my fly room, and I thought, I'm going to go get that, and I'm going to try this. So I made a little closet area, and I put all my little cups in there, and I plugged this thing in, and lo and behold, it doesn't get rid of the chemical smell. And I know it'll get rid of smoke smell and stuff like that. So I've been making it kind of a habit of plugging this thing in at nighttime in my fly tying room and letting it do its course and kind of keeping the room, the air a little more purified. And it's lost all the chemical smell. So you can take your say, if you have anything that has any kind of strong chemical smell, you can get stuff from fly shops that has chemical smells from the treatments and the dyes and stuff like that. Or if you ever inherited a bunch of stuff that was from a smoker, and you just, that stuff's putrid smelling, you want to get rid of it. Or if you're using a bunch of chemicals, this thing is the way to go. They make several different models. Do your own research, but you can get one of these things. They're not very expensive, and it will pull that smell out of your flies. It will, make the area that you're doing it in the air a little bit more pure, and it's a simple, fast deal. You plug it in and turn it on. Now, this one that I got come with instructions that says do not use it while you're in the room, and don't do it while you have pets in the room. So secure the area that you're doing it in, and don't be breathing that stuff, and get in there and shut it off before you do it. And it's worked great for me. I have been able to get rid of the odor and flies and tie, massive quantities of flies and get them sealed up and not have that odor for people. So this is a neat tool to have if you're, worried about odor or chemical spills. or you want to freshen the air in your fly tying room, this thing works great. So I hope this tip helps, and we will see you guys in the next video.